going on, everyone? We are back here for our second part of the interview with Paul Tran, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not you are ready to start franchising. What does it take to take your food concept and turn it into a franchise so that tons of people invest into buying franchises from your business? So, so many people have customers or friends or family say, it's time for you to franchise. You're having so much success. But what it takes to go from where you're at to actually having a successful franchise takes a lot of work. And Paul has tons of experience helping dozens upon dozens of companies be able to do this, including even taking some companies public in the franchise space. So if there's anybody you're going to learn from of what it takes to franchise your food concept, Paul is definitely going to be the person. So make sure you enjoy this episode with Paul Tran. Now, I know that we talked about, some key elements there. One thing I really wanted to talk about was because I know for my own self, prior to probably 5 years ago, I used to talk crap on anybody that bought franchises. Not legitimately talk crap, but I'd be like, bro, well, you're not an entrepreneur. You can't figure out how to create a concept like yourself. Like, I would never franchise. It's all about me. And it was a very ego-driven, statement. And I think a lot of people that are younger entrepreneurs, and that's not by age, but by lack of experience, they think that.
Yeah.
Can you share with me kind of the differences in why you would want to franchise over just starting your own concept?
Yeah. And no offense with that. Yeah, not at all. To be honest, I'd say that there's I mean, to each their own, I guess, is my first response. There's a lot of people who should not be franchisees. Like they are so creative in nature, and they like breaking rules, and they like charting new territory. And unfortunately, I mean, they also don't care too much for systems, and they just like to just create art. They're like your artists, and artists shouldn't be held down and confined. And so if that's that person, then they need to really seriously consider not being a franchisee, or if they do want to become a franchisee, at least to get their feet wet or to understand some part of the business, and hire an operating team to offset what they could potentially destroy the business in, then they should go for it. But like those are the types of folks that probably aren't good franchisees. The right franchisees are those who are aware that they probably aren't the most creative as far as like in the traditional or conventional sense. But they're incredible about operations. They know how to execute and like take massive action, and they like working in a team. And those like that's why a lot of my franchisees, some of the best franchisees, actually come from corporate America. They're used to systems and procedures, and they know how to like drive growth for like multi-million dollar operations. That's not an like And they decided to no longer do that for a large company, but they want to do it for themselves. And so that triggers the definition of an entrepreneur to me. But it's just that they like coaching, they like systems. They don't have the pride and ego to where like, I don't know how to create stuff, but I know how to like take massive action on things. So yeah, those two come out to me.
I love that. And I think it is important to know who you are, right? And not your ego, but actually who you are at your core foundation. And now as I've operated businesses and done different things, a franchise is so damn attractive. You mean I don't have to create a menu? I don't have to create marketing material. I don't have to figure out how the store is laid out. I don't have to figure out any of that. All I have to worry about is operating. And if the concept is a viable concept, then and I'm a good operator, I can crush this. And that's one thing that I really really love about the whole franchise concept, and what that has now become more attractive to me, because I can scale, I think, much quicker because I don't have that learning curve. Now, I don't have a concept I want to build out right now, so maybe that's why I'm leaning more towards the franchise side than looking at starting my own concept, because I don't have anything that draws me in. And there's some really cool franchise concepts out there that are like, I'm actually interested in that. So maybe it is how I'm thinking. Maybe it is my ego at this moment. But I think that's something that I've really started to understand after creating my own concept, and how much work goes into formulating the menus and all the marketing material and really laying that foundation for growth.
Actually, two thoughts about that. The first one is there are people who are multi-talented. They are creative and they also are ones who take massive action and they love systems as well. A lot of times, those are actually the best franchisees because as long as you are, it's more about managing and coaching that kind of personality. Usually, for those folks, I tell people like, hey, you need to like be aware that this is someone else's system and you need to follow the system and take massive action on that. Whereas you're creative, like please, feel free to, constantly suggest new ways for the brand to grow because the benefit of a franchise is you get the collective brain power of everyone and especially
Mm.
people on the front lines. I'm not sure like in McDonald's, for example, Egg McMuffin, Big Mac, chicken nuggets, those are all franchisee suggestions. So you can be creative as long as you're not letting ego get in the way and you are still willing to operate at the highest level, complying with the system. Like you
Yeah.
honor the system, but you still get to be creative. Another way to be creative is just a lot of franchisees can use their creativity to market to different groups or do marketing. So that's another way. Third way is, I mean, it doesn't have to be this or that. Like Gary Vee always says, live in the world of and. You can
Yeah.
do both. Like some
Yeah.
franchisees, they channel their creativity with another business, or eventually there's so many stories of franchisees who scaled up to like 200 stores and then they eventually decide to create their own concept, which you and I chatted about someone yesterday, right?
Yeah.
She was a legacy 30-year franchisee and now she's breaking out and creating her own concept and it's killing it. And
Yeah.
and because of the experience that she had and her creativity, I mean that's a powerful combination. So
I something that kind of struck a chord with me when you were just talking is I think so many people are in a rush to have success. And then you hear that story where this lady was in a legacy franchise for 30 years. I mean, she learned the ins and outs of what it takes to be a part of a franchise. She saw all the operating system, all the support system of a franchise and was able to then duplicate it.
yeah,
And I attest a lot of how I view systems to my one year working at In-N-Out Burger. I think people are so quick to like, let's go start it. And they don't especially the young entrepreneurs. And now I'm talking about my age, and they just feel like time is escaping them. And it's like, dude, you got so much time. And
yeah,
one thing that I think if I said, and I don't regret this, but if I could say one thing I would do different back in my early 20s was I would have gone and just gone to an entrepreneur and said, if you can pay me, I'd love to work for you, or I'll just work for you for free. Like I just want to learn the systems,
yeah,
right? And that that type of mentality is not something that's taught. It's like just go create your concept, go launch your business. But I think if I had worked for either a franchise or a marketing agency, or if a larger scale one, man, I would have known the ins and outs and would have cut my learning curve down by years. And things
yeah,
that I now know, I would have known a long time ago. And I think that's a valuable approach to why you should maybe franchise. If your goal is to launch a concept and potentially scale it into a franchise, it might be worth it to invest in the franchise, gain the knowledge, learn systems, learn how a franchise operates and supports their franchisees before you go open your own concept at launch.
oh my gosh, there's 100% agree. There's so many ways to like get so much like wisdom before you crash and burn, before you fail like so bad you can't recover, before you get PTSD and that prevents you from moving forward. Unfortunately, that doesn't sell too well when people say you have to work for long periods of time.
Yep.
So we'll do our best to
Yep.
manage expectations and show people the right way, but at the end of the day, not everyone's gonna take that. They want the fast diet, the fast pill, and the fast quick fix. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's like you said, the fast pill. It's like weight loss. It's like I take a Ozempic or I take some pill to hydroxycut, whatever makes you lose the weight. But I didn't actually fix the problem. I just got the result real quick, and then what happens 6 months
my
later.
habits are going to
Yep,
destroy any progress. Yep.
exactly. And I think that can be said the same way. It's like, yeah, you open your own concept quicker, but 5 years down the road, you are a slave to that business. You're working every day. The only day off is the day that you close the restaurant. Like, and I know you've seen this just like I've seen this. I mean, it's a story I hear far too often.
Yeah.
And it was like, but I wanted to open my business, and I think a lot of times we could have either worked for a restaurant concept. And I think in particular, if you are going to go work in a restaurant, go work at a restaurant that has a great system, a multi-location restaurant that's dialed in. Because I think when I worked at In and Out that 1 year, it was like, man, I really learned menu simplicity, operational systems. Like, if you make great food, even you don't have to have a huge menu. You just make
Yeah.
great food,
Yeah.
and really the systems around it. I think there's 13 ingredients altogether on the In and Out menu,
Oh my
and that includes
gosh.
salt and pepper. You know what I mean? And but like there's like 10 different ways you can make the burger. And but it's just about efficiency. Like when people are like, "Oh, In and Out's going to launch bacon." I was like, "Hell no, they're not." Like, where
Yeah.
are they going to fit another grill? Like, the stores are dialed in and everything is laid out with perfection.
Yeah.
And I think I learned so much from that, from how managers run shifts, how they manage waste, how they manage labor. I learned so much
Yeah.
from working there. Yeah, I got paid crap. And my intent was, let me be clear, my intent to go work In and Out was not to go learn so I could go open Go Fresh. But so much, I mean, I was in a crappy spot in my life, and that's why I had to get a job. But, it was those lessons that so much of my business was built around and our systems were built around. I also brought over a lot of In and Out employees to my business. So it worked really well to get
Nice.
the
Yeah.
systems dialed in. But I think that 1 year was one of the best things that I ever learned. And I can go back to even my first job working at a donut shop when I was, 9 years old. That owner taught me customer service, and I will give him all the credit in the world, because he really did teach me how important it is to hear your customers and make your customers feel a part of your family.
Yeah.
And so much of my experience and how I operate my businesses now are all former jobs. And so I think people undervalue the importance of pulling what you can from the jobs that you've worked, and they
Yeah.
they just want to wrong a job. So many people are quick to, like, I want to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to have a 9 to 5. And it's like, but your 9 to 5 is your training ground. It's your first investor. It's, you know what I mean? Like, my paychecks from my jobs were what helped me open Go Fresh.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the luxury of having an investor at the beginning of the business. It was because of my job and all the lessons that I learned that prepared me to open Go Fresh. And I think
Yeah.
people, they just want to bash jobs, and they're so quick to just, I want to be an entrepreneur. But it's, you got to understand the importance of what those jobs can lay as far as a foundation for your future businesses.
100%. And it's funny because it's also another, we talked about balance between, the right customer serve, what's the right, not the right customer serve. There's also a balance between, yeah, there's a lot of people who get paralyzed by so much info and fears and stories they tell themselves, and they don't take action. But then at the other time, I'd say this: it's more dangerous to take too like action and without so many avoidable pitfalls that are available to you for free, or you're even being paid to make pitfalls on someone else's risk. Like, why aren't
Yeah.
you trying it? It's just even it could even mean working at a restaurant for like 1 week before you even decide to buy the franchise. It looks kind of cool, and then I've had people that work at a restaurant a week later, like, well, this is like tough shit. I actually don't like it at all. Like, wow, so you're about to pay me a ton of money in franchise fees for something you weren't sure about. Like, good thing you dodged the bullet there. There's so
Yeah.
many bullets you can dodge. Not trying to tell you not to take action, but there's so much you can do before, right? Like front loaded before you do it. So yeah, with
Awesome.
you.
Well, I appreciate all that. I got one final, well, actually, I got two final questions, but one final question as far as the franchise side goes.
Mhm.
If I am, this is kind of speaking from, like, if I was somebody looking at a franchise, what are some important things to be aware of and to maybe ask about, or just to kind of, put as important things that you should be looking at when you are evaluating a franchise opportunity?
Yeah, great question. So the franchise world is so wide ranging because there's also a lot of restaurant brands who are like large legacy brands that like Subway or McDonald's. So I can only speak on the context of my world, which is a lot of brands that are just very young, still emerging, rapidly growing. That's where I love it the most. So the question would normally be, some questions include, you know, tell me about your story or tell me why you did this, because at the beginning, you don't have a lot of stores. You don't have a lot of financial performance to prove. You really want to, you're really trusting the person that's selling the franchise, even more important than the concept itself. They want to know that, like, this person, I get this person. This person's just like me. I want to stand behind this mission. Like, not only just the concept, if that makes sense. No different than actually raising capital. Like in the beginning, you don't really trust the concept that's unproven. You trust the team. You really
Yeah.
want to believe in the team because you have nothing else to really, rely on. So the first one is what's your story, and make sure it aligns with what your story is. The second one is, um, to be honest, just really asking where do you fall short in in the support, and where are your strongest points? And a franchisor who doesn't have a lot of ego or pride and is confident in their own brand, they're willing to tell you where they fall short, where they could use help. And that way, when franchisees sign on early on, they're not looking for like all the shit. They don't expect the brand to have all their shit together. They know everything is a work in progress. So they just need to know what to be aware of and what to manage risk for. But in the beginning, these franchisees, like, they're willing to take that kind of risk. They just need to know what to be aware of. So that is another question. Um, the other question is actually just more internal. Uh, Again, it goes back to the fact that this brand is unproven. This brand doesn't have a lot of financial performance. Like, a lot of the power rests on not just the person, the leader, the founder of the company, but also yourself. Like, do you have the capital as a backup plan? Do you
Hmm.
know your market really well? Like, do you know the community? Because your community is going to be your most powerful force to support your store. Like, fuck what the brand is. Like, whatever
Yeah.
brand you do, like, if you take care of the community with whatever concept you do, the community is going to take care of you. Do you have the community wherewithal? Like, that's why I tell people, like, don't worry, don't place too much like reliance on the brand. It's more like, early on, you're gonna have to rely a lot on yourself. You need to be okay with that. And so those three questions I think are pretty important to ask. Um, Another one is, are you willing to follow systems as well? Like, or is it? I guess talk yourself out of the deal. Like, we're about to pay franchise fees of like 30 to 50,000. You're about to pay 6% royalties or 8% royalties for the life of the business. Is it worth it to you? Like, is it worth it? And if not, then, maybe you should consider creating your own concept. So yeah, hope that helps.
I like those, and I think, from some recent experience that I had and conversations I had with you, I think that was an important thing for me. Is like we get excited about the opportunity, but we also have to be willing to acknowledge, and really look at what are the downsides to it. And I think you have to look at the pros and the cons. And it helped open my eyes up. The conversation I had with you, you shared quite a bit with me that was like, whoa, I didn't think about that, or yeah, that's a good point. And I think you have to be willing to have a conversation. I had a conversation with you about the opportunities that were at hand with me. I had a conversation with another friend of mine that owns about 17 franchises. Like,
Mhm.
I talk to people that are in the world, and I think a lot of people, especially that are newer in entrepreneurship, want to just jump in. I want to take everything at face value, but I think having a conversation with somebody with experience and be willing to talk yourself out of it, um, it really helps, and it will give you confidence in making the right decision instead of just like that knee jerk, like, ooh, it's a shiny object, let's go. And we've all had that shiny object syndrome, right?
Yeah.
You're not an entrepreneur if you haven't dealt with that.
It blows my mind. So, for example, like, like, a lot of people are willing to invest in brands that are well known, that are sexy, or at least like they're everywhere. So if there's a sense of safety when you see it everywhere, not bashing Subway at all,
Yeah,
but, like, for example, a lot of people buy into Subway because they feel like it's a safe investment. Just because you see Subway everywhere, it means that, yes, it could mean that they're a strong, reliable brand, or they just have a massive marketing budget,
yeah,
or
yeah,
they've been around forever. A lot of people don't realize this, but last year, like, Subway closed like 4,000 locations. Not trying to scare anybody away, but you
yeah.
need to be aware of, like where you're placing your bets on. So um, yeah, that's another story for another time. We could talk
Yeah.
about so much for so long.
And they definitely do have a massive marketing budget if you're paying Steph Curry to be in your commercials, along
Yes.
with like every other freaking top tier, A-list celebrity. It's crazy. And yeah,
Yeah.
that is a great point. Just because they're everywhere doesn't mean that you need to be involved in that.
That just means they have a massive marketing budget, or they're really good
Yeah,
at marketing. Hopefully,
yeah,
it means that they do really well profitably, but those two sometimes are unrelated. So you
Yeah.
need to be careful what you depend on.
And that was actually another thought that I was having was, sometimes we see these concepts that have really awesome social medias and it's vibrant and it's popping but then when you actually go into the restaurant, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's flat, it's boring, it's dirty, it's not as exciting as I mean, McDonald's is a perfect example. Nobody's ever, and I always laugh about this, nobody's ever gotten a burger that looks like the photos. Never. There's always false advertisement, right?
Yeah.
And so you may see things digitally, but then when you actually go in, I think that's the importance of doing your due diligence and being willing to go look at the concept and go, is this really a concept that as a consumer
Yeah.
that I would actually buy? It's not just cool, sexy, it's actually a viable model that I can see people coming in. And we've talked about this with concepts that we both are aware of. And it's the importance of, yes, you should be marketing, but I think and I tell people this all the time, the greatest marketing that you could do before you do social media, before you dump a crap ton of cash on social media marketing or hiring an agency like mine, it's about having a great product and great experience. If
For
you don't
sure.
have those, we can pour the gas on a bunch of wood, but it doesn't mean you're going to have a fire, right? Like you
I
have,
like
like
that.
the fire is great service and great product. If you don't
Yeah.
have that, the marketing is not going to really help. And I have seen plenty of brands that have sick marketing, and I've walked in and been like, wow, that's false advertisement.
So much wasted money, right? So much
Yeah,
wasted marketing money. Like
yeah,
you
and
could have just improved your internal operations. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's the importance of like you have to understand you can't just acquire new customers. We have restaurants reach out to us and go, we're failing, we're not growing, and then I actually start talking to them. Well, how many people come back? And it's like we have low return customers. Like, okay, there's a huge problem. Like we can't just help you acquire more if you're not even able to retain them. And
Yeah.
I think a term that most restaurants don't even understand or have a way of tracking is your lifetime value of a customer, LTV.
Yeah.
What's the LTV of a customer? Well, I don't know.
Oh my
It's like, well, you're
gosh.
not tracking. And I think this is the thing that one thing that we pride ourselves on it with our marketing agency is that we help you bring in the data side of the business. That's from understanding your analytics and actually tracking your analytics to also acquiring customer data. People don't understand the importance of having phone numbers and emails and how much that can increase your retention of your customers and allowing them to continuously reorder. I think this is why I've been a big proponent of having an actual restaurant app. And then instead of just giving all the customer data to DoorDash, like have your own app, have your own website where you're collecting that information. I see restaurants give out discounts, but it's like, if I'm giving a discount, I want your phone number, I want your email. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that we can create that line of communication. And some people go, oh, I don't want to text or email people. People get annoyed. And it's like, but like, what's more annoying? Annoying a couple people that don't want that text message, which they can easily hit stop or unsubscribe, versus all the people that wanted to know about your new menu item or your special of the week or things like that. You have people that actually love your product. This is not about being spammy and annoying and blasting them morning, day, and night. It's about having a constant line of communication, and that increases the retention of your customers, that keeps them coming back, and that ultimately drives up your business because you can't grow if you don't retain.
For sure.
And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They're like, I just need to market more. And it's like, no, you need to have a great product and a great experience. And a great experience has a lot of different meanings. As you know, it could be the physical building, it can be the customer service, it could be the cool layout of your drinks. Like I always love like when you go to like a Mexican restaurant that has like the watermelon cut off with the chamoy and the tahini on the rim, and then they make the margarita like in the watermelon. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I like those types of things, right? And you make the digital experience the same as the in person and vice versa.
It has to be.
You can't just have sick marketing and then a shitty concept. You have to have that, kind of the combination of the two. But I think the foundation is having that great food and great experience.
For sure. Gosh, I had a couple points that I wanted to share about that.
Sorry, I
Uh,
rambled on there.
no. I love it. No. I 100% agree with you, and I'm glad you shared that for anybody that's listening. Until that thought comes back to me, one really cool strategy for restaurants is 100% agreed with you on they need to create an app.
Yeah,
Because, for example, I mean, I'm going to talk about a case study with Roll 'em Up. They know that customer data is the most important thing that they need to acquire, and they're not bashing the third party delivery companies because third-party delivery built their business. It kept their business alive during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So third-party delivery for any restaurant, they have their place.
Yep.
The goal of third party is to acquire new customers. But once customers come through the door, you need to find a way to redirect the tracks. Like when you get the customer in the door, or the food comes to the customer, in the delivery bag. If there's a way for you to say thank you so much for supporting our business, just know that you can say something like, if you download our app and do this, number one, it actually is less expensive for us restaurants. We can
Yep.
stay in business longer, and people want to help if they can, if
Yep.
they knew that that you needed help,
Yep.
and we direct them to the app, and now we save money, and now we have a customer relationship that we can sell over and over again, and it goes back to the whole customer lifetime value. Most restaurants don't realize that typical customer lifetime value is like 30 fucking $1,000. If you
Yep.
remembered that every time, you would be like, I should probably take better care of my existing customers
Yes.
than trying to go after the new ones. And the other thing is, you're talking about spamming people with the phone numbers and all that stuff is what restaurant owners fear. I will remind them that it's only spam if you're not giving anything of value.
There you go.
Otherwise, I'm happy to hear from my vendors on a daily basis if there's something
Yeah.
really cool, if there's something valuable to us. So it's only spammy if you have nothing really valuable to give.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great additional point to make.
yeah, and also one more. Sorry, I hope you don't mind. I'm just sharing one more
No,
point.
keep
Uh,
run.
yeah, so one of my biggest things that I do for my consulting firm is I teach franchise owners how to sell franchises, and I tell them what you said. Like when you do like a lot of new customer acquisition marketing campaigns, you're lucky if you get a 1 or 2% response rate, right?
Yeah.
And I usually tell people like, remember, like 100, if you want to get like 100% response rate, like you sell to your customers, you upsell, you refer sell, get people back in the doors. Like that way you're not wasting money on marketing, and or that's a better use of marketing funds, and you get 100% response rate. Like what the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah,
so
and
much.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of people get caught into that. I want more or new customers are important, but you can't get so focused on that you abandon your old customers. And I think
yeah,
especially with QSR restaurants, it's like like having a loyalty program. So many restaurant owners are like, I don't want to give away a bunch of free stuff, and it's like you're not giving away. You're giving your customers something to feel appreciated.
yeah,
And like, hey man, I came 10 times and they gave me a free, I don't know, a free cocktail or whatever it is, right? Free, a free meal or free drink. Like you're talking about pennies, and you're rewarding a customer for coming in 10 times.
for
Like
sure.
that they came 10 times. You should be able to give them a free French fry. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're not giving them $500 worth of free food. You're giving them just something to say, hey, thanks. We appreciate you being a loyal customer. And
yeah,
that goes such a long way. And I think people are playing more fearful of like, I can't give away money instead of thinking about how I can increase the amount of times a customer comes back. And I think it's just shifting your mindset. Like you said, the lifetime value of a customer is $30,000 for your average restaurant. Like if you thought about that, you would think differently about giving $5, appetizer or French fries away for free because that's going to get that customer coming back over and over and over again.
for sure.
Yeah.
100%. So no.
Yeah.
You
So
sound like
much good
you
stuff,
sound
Paul.
like you sound like you own an incredibly effective marketing company. I just
I
wanted
like to
to.
think so. I like to think so. I do love marketing businesses, but I will always state, we had a client or a prospect yesterday that I had to tell it like honestly, like you guys aren't quite ready for the type of marketing that we can do for you. You've really got to dial in these things because their menu was all over the freaking place. Slim it down, dial this in, dial your customer experience in. Once you get that, then we can actually market your business. And I have no problem telling people that because when you hire our agency, we want to know that we are actually the thing that's going to help your business grow.
I
I,
dig
I
that.
don't want to take you on just because, hey, we made some more money. Woo! Like we view every client as a partner. And if we don't help you win, then we should be fired. So I'm not going to take on any client that I don't believe that we can actually help. And I think if you are looking at a marketing agency, that's an important thing. If they don't tell you anything, but like, oh yeah, we can help, we can help, we can help. they should be asking you questions. They should be diving into your business and understanding whether or not your restaurant's something that's viable enough to have the type of marketing that can get an ROI on your services. And I
Yeah.
even, we even tell people, hey, normally we do a contract of this length, but because of your restaurant and where it's at, we need to do it this long because that's what it's going to take to get an ROI positive return on your investment. And so those are types of things that if you're looking at a marketing agency are really important. If you're a restaurant, is are they asking those types of questions? Are they giving you that type of communication? If they're just there to sell you, that can be sometimes a scary situation because they may be needing your money more than you need their marketing.
It needs to be a two-way
So
street, right? You need to
yeah,
also be like investigating them and vice
yeah,
versa too. Like again, I think to be honest, I think that's a lesson that you and I only could learn as we get older and
yes,
we deal with so many shitty clients as well as and we've seen the light with the best
yeah,
clients ever and we know what
yeah,
we want. So I'm glad you're sticking to your guns there. A lot of
yeah,
times, yeah, I'm telling people no, but I hate confrontation. So I say no, but here's some really good advice that I'm just going to give you
yeah,
for free, and I just let them
yeah,
go. And
yeah,
usually they come back ready to go, or they send me referrals. I mean,
yeah.
it's just smart business anyway.
Yeah, always doing right by people, I think, is always right. So, well, Paul, dude, I appreciate you so much for jumping on. My final question is, how do people get in contact with you, whether just following you on social media or if they're interested in working with you on the consulting or franchising side? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you again, Billy. This was fun. I hope I was able to be of service and be of value. As far as reaching out, I mean, lately I've been obsessed with Twitter and well, X, right?
X.
So you can find me at Paul T Tran and just say hi, connect. I'm having a lot of really cool conversations with a lot of franchisors there and people looking at franchising. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn. That's also Paul T Tran as well. I'd say most of my content there is more focused on roll them up since they're probably my biggest client, and I'm really confident that they're going to be do some massive things. And I'd say follow me there if you're a growing restaurant franchisor. Feel free to just see my content and just take it like R&D, rip off and duplicate, because it's crazy. You believe this wholeheartedly, and this is what you help clients with, but I feel like so many restaurants just don't have a lot of content. And how are they going to build a relationship or have the consistent, like the constant awareness if they don't know that you exist? So
Yep.
I'd say a lot of my leads, franchise leads, have come from just content alone. So feel free to rip it off and feel free to connect with me. And again, thank you, Billy.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate you. And if you guys want to get in contact, make sure you reach out to him on LinkedIn or X. Feels so weird saying X, but make sure you hit up
You had
Paul.
no
And
problem
again,
doing this
Paul,
though.
yeah. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate all the wisdom that you shared today and just everything that you've done for me as a friend and just all the support that you've given me. So
Oh, it
I
works
appreciate
both
you, brother.
ways. I appreciate you too, man. Thank you.